Welcome to TrialSite News Weekly Roundup. My name is Adrian, and I'll be going over some of our top news stories from this past week. Please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. This week, we start our roundup with the University of Michigan Kellogg Eye Center, which is working on an investigational therapy that might not only improve inflammation conditions, but also lessen the severity and offer a new patient outcome in regards to Graves' eye disease, or otherwise known as thyroid eye disease. Now, the University of Michigan is a prominent clinical investigative site, but the lead investigators for the study are Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles and Johannes Gutenberg Medical Center in Mainz, Germany, while the industry sponsor is Horizon Therapeutics. In a recent study, 83 patients were enrolled in the Phase 3 OPTIC trial and received 8 intravenous infusions of teprotumumab or placebo every 3 weeks for up to 21 weeks. 83% of the teprotumumab-treated patients in the OPTIC trial demonstrated at least a 2 millimeter reduction of proptosis in their more severely affected eye. Co-principal investigator Raymond Douglas, MD, PhD, and director of the orbital and thyroid eye disease programs at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center quoted that in this study, patients treated with teprotumumab had an unprecedented reduction in the proptosis, which is currently only treatable via surgery after the active disease has ended. Dr. Douglas continued that if approved, teprotumumab would give physicians the first medicine to reduce eye bulging during active thyroid eye disease, in addition to treating other painful symptoms. Observers are hopeful that patients with Graves' eye disease may soon have a new treatment option. Moving along now. A novel AI-driven smartphone apps, ePAL, could help patients improve cancer pain management by using patient-generated information collaboratively with others. The smartphone app allows patients to monitor their pain and includes other features such as several interventions and an educational library. The AI components analyzes the data to send patients, tailoring educational coaching messages each day. For example, the more the app is used, the greater the choices of content for underlying AI-driven message. Dr. Kamdar and team from Mass General Hospital studied the impact of the app on cancer pain, healthcare utilization, and attitudes towards cancer pain. They randomly assigned 112 patients with metastatic solid tumor-related pain to receive 8 weeks of the usual palliative care with or without ePAL. The ePAL app evidences strong potential use cases for apps such as this, not just for oncology, but many other therapeutic areas. Moreover, as industry sponsors seek to leverage digitization with their patient populations, the ePAL story should trigger some immediate brainstorming sessions. Continuing on with cancer-related news, the FDA has approved bevacizumab BVXR, Xyribev, Pfizer, a biosimilar to bevacizumab, Avastin, Genentech, and Roche, for the treatment of 5 types of cancer. These cancers include metastatic colorectal cancer, unresectable locally advanced recurrent or metastatic non-squamous non-small cell lung cancer or NSCLC, recurrent glioblastoma, metastatic renal cell carcinoma, and persistent recurrent or metastatic cervical cancer. This represents the 6th biosimilar approval for Pfizer. Bevacizumab is a monoclonal antibody biosimilar of the reference product bevacizumab, which works by inhibiting angiogenesis by specifically recognizing and binding to vascular endothelial growth factor protein. Dr. Niles Reinmuth of the Department of Asklepios Lung Clinic, Munich, Göttingen, Germany, reported Xyribev represents a welcome addition to the treatment of armamentarium in its approved indications, potentially providing physicians with a medicine that has a similar safety profile and efficacy as the reference product. There are some adverse reactions to be noted, and to view these listings, please go to TrialSiteNews.com. And now on to our last cancer story of the day. MD Anderson has produced a plan of correction after the federal government investigated the patient death that resulted from a blood transfusion. Click to Houston reports that a 23-year-old female leukemia patient died at the hospital on December 28, 2018, after she received contaminated blood during a blood transfusion. Now, just recently, the investigators published a 99-page statement of deficiencies, delineating a checklist of failures and corresponding corrective actions. MD Anderson didn't fare as well as they should have for such a prominent, esteemed institution. Deficiencies that were identified included governing body patient rights, quality assurance and performance improvement, nursing services, and laboratory services. To view the report, you can go to TrialSiteNews.com. Now, MD Anderson staff were fully cooperative with the investigation. It was reported that they were open, honest, and ready to embrace any change they needed to make. And this is a promising sign. Moving on now to diabetes-related news. Ohio State University researchers have discovered an elevated risk of type 2 diabetes among those taking statins in an effort to lower their cholesterol levels and to fight off heart disease. Over 35 million in America are taking statins, one of the most common drugs taken in the U.S. Statins work on debilitating an enzyme that is used by the body to make cholesterol. Over 80% of the prescriptions for the drug are for those between the ages of 40 and 59 years of age. If this is confirmed, this will be of substantial concern. In further diabetes-related news, Harvard researcher Doug Melton is on a mission to cure type 1 diabetes. He retooled his own lab to pursue this mission when both of his children developed the disease. Semma Therapeutics will launch a clinical trial to determine if Melton's manufactured beta cells can work in humans. Semma is a serious player, founded in 2015, and they have raised $163 million, and Melton happens to be a co-founder. Dr. David Nathan, Director, Diabetes Center at Massachusetts General Hospital, is a little more skeptical on the outlook. He said, and I quote, that they are coming along, but I don't see that on the near horizon, end quote. Dr. Nathan believes that we are at least a decade out from any kind of cure, if not longer. Dr. Nathan is pursuing various ways to make treatment easier. In the meantime, Melton continues his quest, and we are thankful for brilliant researchers such as Doug Melton. It is their commitment to solve the problem, crack the code, and develop the cure that promotes progress. The goal: gene-edit manufactured beta cells before they are delivered to a patient. They end up working like regular beta cells, but don't suffer from the same immune attack, reports Weintraub. We look forward to the upcoming research and possible clinical trial results which can open up heretofore not possible ways to address and treat type 1 diabetes. TrialSite News commends the tireless work of Doug Melton at Harvard. Switching gears now to gastrointestinal news. The U.S. Department of Defense, or the DoD, partnered with an Australian biotech venture called Immuron Limited, or IMRN. This biotech focuses on developing and commercializing oral immunotherapeutics for the prevention and treatment of many gut-mediated pathogens. Immuron is a publicly traded Australian venture. It raised $6.1 million in an IPO in April 18th of 2017 at $10 per share. In preclinical animal studies, only 3 of the 8 travelin-treated animals had signs of inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract, and only 2 of those had high levels of inflammatory cytokines in fecal samples. All other animals in the travelin-treated group were clinically healthy and did not excrete any inflammatory cytokines. Overall, the results suggest that travelin is functionally cross-reactive and may have some prophylactic activity against shigellosis. The global burden of these diseases outweighs any of the more complex diseases seen in gastroenterology clinics. Each year, an estimated 1.5 billion episodes of diarrhea occur worldwide. These episodes result in the deaths of approximately 2.2 million people, mostly children in developing countries according to the research. A high-priority objective for the U.S. Army is preventative treatment protecting against enteric diseases, specifically shigellosis. Shigella SPP are estimated to cause 80 to 165 million cases of disease worldwide, resulting in 600,000 deaths annually. They are particularly prevalent in both sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Now, let's take a moment to talk about news on obesity. Is obesity a disease? A landmark study led by the World Obesity Federation sought to address this important question. By studying more than 14,000 patients and about 3,000 doctors from a dozen countries, the study leaders purported to show 68% of patients and 88% of doctors consider obesity a chronic disease. The expert committee for the study was a $164 billion Danish pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk, the only company worldwide TrialSite News has identified as a Tier 1 pharma company fully committed to bankrolling obesity drugs. Recently covered in Australia by INQ's David Hardiker, George Wilkins, Amgen Schultz, and Kishore Napier-Raymond, and picked up at MSN, it turns out the following trial attributes could raise an eyebrow. The study was funded by Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk arranged for Specialist Medical Communications to write the survey report. The 17 members of the study's steering committee included eminent specialists with the World Obesity Federation. All were remunerated by Novo Nordisk for other work. 3 paying members were Novo Nordisk employees, and then 2 of them held company shares. Novo Nordisk was lead sponsor of the European Congress where the study results were presented. And Novo Nordisk provides significant financial support to the group that organized the study, the World Obesity Federation. A lot of blame can go around. Food systems, lack of exercise, widespread laziness, land use patterns that favor driving over cycling or walking, ironically the Danes, have little obesity, partly due to the fact that they designed a plan so a majority of the population cycles to work, even in the freezing cold. The obesity crisis is real. In the United States, far from Australia, we face a crisis of unprecedented proportions. At TrialSite News, we don't blame Novo Nordisk for capitalizing on the unfortunate social and health crisis. They saw it coming decades ago and started preparing and methodically executing, and the proceeds will probably go to them for anticipating, investing, and developing to FDA gold standards. The sad reality is that so many people have become so obese that there is no easy way out of the crisis. The medical establishment gets involved because obesity has in fact turned into a chronic disease. And now for some women's health news. The University of Washington, led by Natalia Kleinhains, is reevaluating the ethics of an upcoming study of the effects of marijuana on unborn babies. It is the first such study that looks at babies whose mothers used marijuana during pregnancy, but no illicit drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. Child health advocates are challenging the study by declaring that there is a lot of knowledge already about the effects of THC on fetal health. Pamela McCall is concerned that the women in the study are not being given sufficient informed consent options. McCall is part of a citizens group that seeks to stop the clinical study. Karen Moe, head of the UW's Human Subjects Division, declared that the IRB takes such concerns seriously and is investigating. Moe reports a decision should be made within a week. Next, we switch topics to trial monitoring-related news. Back in the spring of 2019, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, released a guidance document titled A Risk-Based Approach to Monitoring of Clinical Investigations Questions and Answers Guidance for Industry. TrialSite News engages with research sites all over the world that seek to understand the implications of risk-based monitoring, or RBM, in more detail. Moreover, with the advent of ICH E6R2, it has been reported to us by several research sites that there has been an intensified industry-sponsored scrutiny directly on research sites via monitoring activity. What does all of this mean for research sites seeking to do the right thing while pursuing new treatments and cures? With comprehensive risk-based monitoring and recent updates associated with ICH E6R2 research sites, CI, are reporting intensified monitoring and some cases in anything but with a new industry monitoring paradigm courtesy of RBM. Rather, sponsors in some cases may be overreaching in a concern that they must overtly monitor sites, again in keeping with their risk-based monitoring plans. On the other hand, it is tried and true that clinical investigational sites that are well run with mature and experienced coordinators will do well most of the time. Research sites may consider working with sponsors to identify common frameworks, as an example where research site risk-based plans overlap and dovetail with specific sponsors' risk-based monitoring plans for specific research programs, and then ultimately for whole categories for trials. But these should truly be risk-based approaches. Moreover, there are many exciting quality and continuous improvement initiatives out in the market. For example, there is a new clinical investigational site accreditation standard established by the Alliance of Clinical Research Excellence and Safety, or ACRES. If clinical investigational sites can achieve accreditation that establishes a site's study conduct aligns with industry risk-based monitoring, underlying principles, then there would be a great benefit to all involved. So what would that mean? Well, in the future, if a research site receives an accreditation based on a flexible standard that weaves in best practices, then it will be deemed a lower risk site than, let's say, a site that receives no accreditation of any kind. This could make all involved with clinical research truly experience a more streamlined and quality-driven process. Presently, many cancer patients are accessing advanced investigational care via a clinical trial, only to be cut off of the treatment and told after the study they have to pay out of pocket for the therapy ongoing. In many cases, these therapies cost from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. The median household income in the U.S. is about $60,000. Leaving most unable to pay. The situation is similar to other parts of the world. So, according to Dr. Mikhail Sakir in a recent editorial in The Hill, and I quote, "Quite simply, these clinical trial participants risked their lives to confirm the drug was safe and effective for others fighting CM. Then, they are just tossed out once the trial is over. So much for true patient commitment and engagement." So what if shareholders made it a part of the success criteria of the returns for the company that patients should be cared for post-successful approval? That the mission of the specific investment was a financial return plus an acknowledgement that those that participate in their investment trials are part of the investment family. Let's make a pact with patients that they are up there with shareholders. By the way, it will create an enormously powerful brand for upcoming millennials. In other trial monitoring news, a highly paid, globally renowned geneticist appears to have failed in his duties to responsibly oversee lab research, which possibly has led to years of widespread scientific fraud. Investigations into this matter of University College London have found data falsification in a total of 9 scientific papers published by David Latchman's lab. Once news of issues with Latchman's lab started to spread back in 2015, there was a retraction of a paper published in 2002 in the Journal of Biological Chemistry, without any explanation. Next, another retraction just 2 months later in Journal of Cell Science, which conceded misrepresentations of images in the paper published in 2005 and their misuse and reuse to represent different scientific results. UCL documentation obtained by BuzzFeed reveals that at the end of 2013, an anonymous whistleblower alleged misconduct in 28 papers from the Latchman lab going back as early as 1997. A panel of UCL scientists was formed to consider allegations into the UCL labs more thoroughly. Delivering a damning report in March 2015, they concluded there was prima facie evidence of research misconduct. The panel suggested all 8 research papers from the Latchman lab should be retracted, and only 2 have been thus far. Authored by the House of Commons Science and Technology Committee, the report titled Research Integrity 6th Report of Session 2017-2019 reveals the British political class concern about a lack of consistent transparency, leading to challenges in assessing the scale of research integrity issues, leading to accusations that parts of the sector are policing themselves in a secretive way in order to maintain reputation, or worse, a perception that investigations are not conducted properly in order to avoid embarrassment. UCL spokesman Christy Walker informed BuzzFeed that, and I quote, "We will not be adding anything further," end quote. Moreover, Shimon Cohen, a PR professional aiding Latchman, noted that Latchman rejected the assertions made in the investigation reports. Now, we here at TrialSite News, of course, hope that the same levels of accountability we expect of our publicly financed research labs is also applied to our political class. And finally, clinical investigator turnover may contribute to inefficiency, instability, and increased cost of clinical research. However, factors contributing to investigator turnover have not been well characterized. From 1999 to 2015, investigators submitting a Form FDA 1572 to the BMIS database declined by approximately 33%, and the proportion of investigators involved in only one trial increased, signaling potential adverse trends in the clinical investigator workforce. FDA Bioresearch Monitoring Information System, or BMIS, identified 172,453 unique investigators who submitted a Form FDA 1572 during the study interval between 1999 and 2015. The authors report that of this total, 85,455 were classified as having done only a single study. The one-and-done problem is well known, and the general trend that the number of actual investigators submitting forms to participate in clinical research has substantially declined. Moreover, there are profound shifts in healthcare systems in the United States, such as intensifying infusion of private equity into commercial research sites, implicating more sharp negotiation practices with global industry sponsors. There is no easy way out of this challenge, that there are not enough physicians signing up to become clinical investigators. Commercial sponsors need to take a hard look in the mirror at what is working and what isn't working, and need to adjust accordingly. Do you have any clinical news you'd like us to report on? If so, let us know. Contact information is in the box below. Thank you for joining us for this week's TrialSite News Roundup. And remember, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of updates.